Yeah, so let's take a look at this typography assignment where we're taking two different words that are contrast, and we're using typography. We're not using shapes or pictures or anything. We're just using the typography to tell a story. So and I am using the new 2015. Okay, and you'll see that the interface looks slightly different, but the tools are the same. Move, select, magic wand, crop, eyedropper, you know, spot healing. Okay, text. There are a lot of really cool new features, but for us in this class, I mean, you know, that you can pursue on your own, but for this class, we're just going to be using the same old, you know, vector shapes and raster shapes. Okay, now type is a vector, and I'm going to, you know, use black here. I'm going to do free fall. So basically, I'm going to start out, and you know, I opened up my template. This is just my template here. I turned off the text, and I'm going to make it pretty big. Okay, and I want to do free. Now, so you know, intro typography. Your typography needs to represent your idea in any design, right? So I go down to my type tool once I type that out, and I go through all my different fonts. And I want to, there's two ways to approach this. I can look for a font that seems free, right? Or I can manipulate the type so that it conveys the idea of free. Okay, now let me pause this while I kind of look for a font here, all right? And I will get back to you. Okay, so I picked a font, just, you know, winging it here. I picked a font called Collateral Damage that kind of, to me, conveyed a sense of freedom. Okay, now you know, you can find different free fonts online, or you could. I'm going to show you a method of rasterizing and creating your own fonts. Adobe just came out with a brand new font creation tool. It's going to be fantastic. But let's just pick this free. See, I'm thinking of the idea as I'm going to present this as this looks free. It's not constrained. It looks very creative, and you know, the splatters. It's unleashed, so it's free. Now I want the word fall. Okay, so I'm going to click and I'm going to type the word fall, but I'm going to use a different. I'm going to use a different font, and in this case, since I'm going to rasterize it and convey my message in a different manner. Okay, Futura. I'm going to use Futura, you know, okay. And so for here, what I want to do is I want to, so, you know, here I've got my vector, right, fall, my vector free, right. I'm going to convert this to a raster shape. You can see that I can't cut into this, you know, I can't really change it in any way because it's a, you know, it's a vector shape. Okay, I'm going to convert it to a raster though. That just means that I can't size it up without it getting blurry, but this is my canvas. I'm not going to get any bigger than this. So I want to be able to play with this. So I'm going to right click on there and I'm going to rasterize the type. Okay, so now you can see that it's moving as one, but I can do things like, you know, I'm going to be able to, sorry, I'm going to be able to manipulate this. Okay, so, sorry about that. Got a daughter in New York. So, let's see here. First thing is, I am going to put each one of these on their own layer. So I'm going to select the F. I'm going to do Apple X. I'm going to do Apple V. I'm going to hit V on my keyboard to move it, and I'm going to move the F here. I'm going to select, I have auto select layer turned on, so I'm going to select this again. You can see over here the all is selected. I'm going to take my selection tool. I'm going to cut my A. I'm going to do X. I'm going to do V. I'm going to hit V. I'm going to move that. I'm going to go back to my L's. I'm going to cut my L. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to paste it. Use my move tool to make that come down. And then finally I'm left with this guy, right? You might see where I'm kind of going with this. I've got free, and then I'm going to have the F standing right on the edge. I'm going to have my A here, and I'm going to have my letters come down. Okay? Now, I might want to move these so they look like they're kind of falling through the air and twisting. So I'm going to click on my A using my move tool. Auto selects the layer. The A is selected. I'm going to do Control T, which is edit transform. I'm going to slightly twist that. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing with my L. I'm going to slightly twist it. Hit return. I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to slightly twist it, and here's where, as a designer, I can figure out, you know, how do I want this thing to work. I can also, you know, resize these. Maybe it's falling through space and it's getting smaller, right? And can I resize this up? Not very much without it getting blurry. You see how it's starting to get a little blurry there? I could get away with a little bit, right? So this is where I'm not constrained by tools. I'm just basically constrained by my creativity. Okay. So that's free fall. That's an easy one. You know, where would I move this? Would I move it down here? Would I have it falling off the page? Could I play with scale? Could I go back and could I use a bigger font and start bigger so I can go to big to small easier? Right? That's what I would leave you with there. If you're doing another kind of an idea where you need to cut into these, okay, remember this is a raster shape, so it's just a block of pixels. So I can actually cut into this if I'm doing something like, you know, distressed or I'd have to go back and look at, you know, look at the examples. But if I want to actually turn this, you know, I had an assignment I did with my on-ground class where we did it. It was called typography as a graphical element. And so instead of reading the font, the type, you had to actually see it as a shape. So here I'm looking at negative shape and position and how it works in the composition. So you can cut into that, right? You can also add on to it, right? I just use the selection tool, you know. So let's say I wanted to, and then I got black in the foreground, so I'm gonna use Option Delete to add on to that, right? So you can see that I can also add on, right? The last thing is some people are asking about whether they can add shapes to this. Very minimally, I would add a layer, you know, and put it where you want it, right? And for instance, if I want to subdivide the space, okay, some people have done that in the examples. Let's say I want to, I'm not going to make a shape that is really adding to the composition in a fun, free-forming, freewheeling way. But if you wanted to subdivide the negative space with simple, you know, with very simple broad shapes. But I wouldn't want to, you know, I wouldn't want to start drawing in like buildings and cars and things. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that. Same tools, same basic inner shape, but a lot of cool stuff to learn, but not necessarily, you know, needed for this assignment. You can just go with the basics. All right.